Well, it's a new week, and that means brand new attacks on Infowars.com. This time, Google is going out of their way. They've taken out a major contract to delist Infowars from its search index entirely. Now, this is coming from Mike Cernovich, who broke the story here while he was in Austin, Texas. His sources were so shocked by this latest attempt by Google to isolate and destroy Infowars that they wanted to send them out the actual documents that were sent out to hundreds, if not thousands, of contractors who are working for Google. So they've hired these contractors to remove Infowars.com from its search engines. All these contractors have been instructed to actively rate Infowars as a low quality and untrusted site. Of course, this is going to have the effect. They're not going to outright ban us using this technique, but this is a new way that they can game their algorithm so that Infowars articles will start to slowly fall off the front few pages, if not go all the way to the tail end of Google searches, because people will no longer link on them if they are rated as an uncredible source. So now Google is further instructing these contractors to rate us low to medium in our acceptability rating. They're saying that's generous, but they're doing that because some people might be searching for alternative voices than what the mainstream media is telling them. Oh, my goodness, who would even think about doing such a thing? But then they go on to attempt to differentiate between Infowars coverage of Assad's comments from CNN's, who they say is a popular news source that covers the story with a depth and mostly straightforward reporting. To compare, Infowars' article is brief and only mentions statements from sources not really typical. Putin, Ron Paul, Assad himself, which seem to be making the same case here that bolsters the site's previously held perspectives, which cut against the grain, to say the least. Can't have that now, can we? Can't have any alternative voices that cut against the grain. But it doesn't end there. So basically now they're wanting to go out of their way to ban us entirely, all because we said, hey, wait a minute, let's not drop bombs on Syria right away without getting an independent investigation. This has all the markings of a false flag attack, or as we pointed out, it's not as if this didn't actually happen, but that it would be used politically regardless of who actually launched these chemical weapons, because there was no independent investigation. We just immediately went in with the airstrike there. And so because we said false flag, we're going to be banned from Google. They're going to say perfect example of fake news. You can't trust them. When we were quoting mainstream articles and mainstream sources, we've got Business Insider doing a report on this, Breitbart, New York Mag. But according to Google, the Russian President Vladimir Putin, former U.S. Congressman Ron Paul, and Syria's President Bashar al-Assad are not valid sources to cite in a news article. Take a listen to what they said.
We have information from various sources that a similar provocation, and I can't call it anything other than a provocation, is being prepared in other parts of Syria, including the southern suburbs of Damascus, where they're again preparing to release some similar chemical substances and accuse the Syrian authorities of using them.
We cannot take it seriously, but our impression that the West, mainly the United States, is hand in glove with the terrorists. They fabricated the whole story in order to have a pretext for the attack. It wasn't attack because of what happened in Khan Sheikhoun. It's one event. It's a stage one, the play that we saw on the social networking and on TVs, the propaganda, and the stage two is the military attack. That's what we believe is happening.
Before this episode of possible gas exposure and who did what, things were going along reasonably well for the conditions. You know, Trump says let the Syrians decide who should run their country, and peace talks were breaking out, and Al Qaeda and ISIS were on the run, on maybe defeated. So it was like, you know, in spite of their problems with this foreign policy, it looked like there was some benefit, but it looks like maybe somebody didn't like that, so there had to be an episode. And the blame now is that we can't let that happen because it looks like it might benefit Assad. So Assad, they claim, now went and released gas to kill a bunch of people. But, Daniel, we might not have much of a job here today because I looked at the New York Times to find out, to get the explanation, and they said, worst chemical attack in years in Syria. U.S. blames Assad. So it's all over and done with.
But now we're being told that we're crazy, we're fake news for just not immediately buying into the narrative that's being pushed by the president and now the mainstream media who just a week, 2 weeks ago, was saying President Trump was a Russian agent and we must resist and we can't trust him at all. And now all of a sudden they're fully behind him. Now that he's going to go to war, they're behind him without asking any questions. So that's pretty incredible to see happening in real time. But veteran and state representative Tulsi Gabbard is also coming under fire for saying we need to be a little bit more patient. And yes, I am skeptical. She is skeptical that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad authorized the use of chemical weapons. Again, it's the timing.
Well, Wolf, I remind you about what happened before we launched an invasion and occupation of Iraq. Then Colin Powell and many others within the administration came to Congress and came to the UN claiming they had the evidence proving that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. We launched a completely destructive, counterproductive war based on that intelligence, which has now, years later, proven to be wrong. So yes, I'm skeptical.
And now we have jihadists and terror groups that are actually going to seize upon the fact that they can now just produce a chemical weapons attack or stage an event, and President Trump is going to be quick to act with no investigation needed. As long as it serves them politically, they will go ahead and launch more of these propaganda videos. But now, even though this is a targeted takeout by Google, this censorship there is not an isolated incident. They have been gaming the algorithms for quite some time. As we've pointed out, they've been gaming our view count on YouTube. They've been censoring us. They delisted us from ad roll and, cut off our money supply there. But they've also been gaming the algorithms for the election. Here we've got Google censoring Hillary Clinton's health problems. When Adon Salazar and Paul Joseph Watson did these articles, they were showing how if you went to the Google search engine and typed in Hillary Clinton's health or Hillary is, it would just say Hillary's an angel. She's so perfect health. She's wonderful. But if you would look it up on Bing, it would go to Hillary's health problems, health issues, head injury, whereas at Google would say her health plan, her healthcare plan, this wonderful angel goddess that we all need to elect. Same thing happened. It would hide any searches for Clinton's body count. Same thing. Google would absolutely game the algorithm there, censor any negative information. Even though Clinton body count is an infamous term, it's been around for decades. Just these people massive amounts of people who just so die that are in the Clintons' inner circle. But if you looked it up on Bing or Yahoo, they would pull out the Clinton body count fact sheet and others. And so we also reported how WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange was quick to remind everyone that Google was directly engaged with the presidential campaign of Hillary Clinton. He said the chairman of Google, Eric Schmidt, actually set up a company to run the digital component of Hillary Clinton's campaign. So that was reported by courts in 2015. They said an under-the-radar startup known as The Groundwork was funded by Schmidt to ensure that Clinton has the engineering talent needed to win the election. So we can see Google has absolutely been politicized. They've been compromised. They are now part of the deep state. So they want to take out anyone who is an enemy of the state, enemy of Google and George Soros. And they're wanting to build this empire to go ahead and control the internet. They want to take anyone out who is going to expose that plan. They've been politicized, and now they are weaponizing their algorithms, their seemingly innocent search results. So they're going to start with InfoWars, but believe me, folks, if they can take out InfoWars, take down Alex Jones, free speech and free and open internet is done for everyone. We've already shown you how they're starting to censor a lot of conservative outlets, a lot of conservative voices out there, but now they're actually starting to censor conservative comments. So you're not even allowed to think anything and then comment about an article on the internet. Google is actually now rating your conservative comments. Kit Daniel is reporting that. But we've also now reported how Google and George Soros are funding net neutrality groups to control the internet. They want to censor Infowars.com. $72 million have been spent since 2006 to control the internet under the guise of net neutrality. Ajit Pai, who's actually sat on the board there, he's really trying to fight against this to say, look, this is not about keeping it free and open for everyone. This is so that they can control the internet and censor groups that they do not like. That's what it's really about. They'll be the ones who are in charge. But we have President Trump now coming out slamming the press, saying that the fake media has gotten even worse since the election. Every story is badly slanted. Trump says, you know, I'm going to have to agree with him there, because as we can see, the mainstream media who was pushing the Russian agent narrative has now fully jumped on the Trump train now that he is willing to drop some bombs against ISIS and Syria. So there you go. This is another unprecedented attack. We don't really know how big of a hit we're going to take with this Google getting the delisting of Infowars from its search engines entirely. This is pretty big, folks. We need your support more now than ever. You can go to the Infowars store, help us by buying the products that we sell. Oh, how dare we sell these products that are getting 4- and 5-star ratings from everyone. But that is how we are going to fund the Infowar. That's how we're going to fight against this. And as always, share these links, share the articles, share the videos, get the information out there as much as you possibly can before they shut it all down for everyone.
This is one of the biggest secrets out there. The missing link of why our ancestors, whether you were in Africa or ancient Albion, which is England today, why our ancestors were so much stronger. I mean, there are huge archaeological reports, all sorts of anthropology studies, you can look them up for yourself, that show that humans, just an average farmer of 10,000 years ago in England, was stronger than Olympic athletes today. In the final equation, everyone knows our modern society has lost its vitality. The sperm counts are down like 90%. People are falling apart. They're totally depressed. They're unhappy. What is going on? Every ancient culture was obsessed with what I'm about to reveal to you. Today we call it bone broth, and for thousands of years our ancestors enjoyed its benefits before it became lost to our modern diets of processed junk. That's why I'm so excited to announce the product that is undoubtedly the jewel in the crown of Infowars Life products. Caveman. We lost our vitality because we just ignored the ancient traditions. Everyone knew that you used all the parts of the animal. You used the skin to cover yourself or for shelter. You used the meat for sustenance, the fat for cooking, but you used the bones for strength. We are now introducing Caveman by InfoWarsLife.com, the ultimate in true paleo nutrition with bone broth, turmeric root, chaga mushroom, and 7 total primal superfoods in a single great tasting formula. The bone is so amazing. From the outside structure full of minerals and key cofactors to the marrow that produces the blood for the body. This is the engine of the life essence. I've made a lot of important points here, but this is the one you need to research for yourself because it's so key. High-quality bone broth helps support healthy muscles and connective tissue, while the active compounds in turmeric do battle on the cellular level and help fight free radicals. And collagen is essential to aid healthy tendons, ligaments, and muscle tissue. This is an absolute win-win. You get an amazing product produced right here in America. You support Infowars and all we're doing to promote freedom and the restoration of our republic and promotion of freedom worldwide. The journey towards better health and giving our bodies these amazing compounds that God created starts at InfoWarsLife.com. 3 years in the making, incredible research, and the very best ingredients. I'm Alex Jones, and I may not be a caveman, but compared to these trendies out there in the street, I'm as close as it gets. Join me at InfoWarsLife.com and get your caveman formula today.